All right, guys, we are live. It is 1:44 a.m. in the East Coast. We are recapping live UFC 315, Muhammad versus Della Maddalena in Montreal, Quebec. I should say bonjour and all that, oui, and all that good stuff. Joining me as always is a guy looking sharp. He's got his dress shirt on. He's got the collar shirt. I mean, I don't know if the last time we had a collar shirt on the show. He's feeling extra special. The great senior editor of sherdog.com, Mr. Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. I see the chat is already popping. People have realized quickly that the best way to get a reaction out of us is to take any setback for an American wrestler as a referendum on American wrestling in general. So everybody is picking at that scab. I salute you. As long as you keep it respectful, we'd love to have you. Let us know if there are any volume or other audio issues. But otherwise, let's rock, dude. There's plenty to talk about. Considering we only had 12 fights tonight, more violence than we usually get out of a 15-fight card, and again, plenty to talk about.
Yeah, people are talking about my my Wi-Fi. I don't know what is going on, but it seems like every Saturday night is pouring raining in New England recently. So hopefully, it looks like my Wi-Fi went back up, so hopefully it's good now. But what are you guys talking about? Belal Muhammad's not an American wrestler. He didn't come out with the American flag. He came out with a Palestine flag. So
yeah, Palestinian wrestling, worst base for.
Yeah. There's a lot of jokes I'm going to go there. Not going to because be a little too touchy right now. But we have 12 fights to break down. Shout out to all the people in the chat. If you're listening to this, the next day or something like that, cool. We appreciate that. We ask that you just leave a comment in the chat. Tell us how bad my Wi-Fi is, something like that. Let's get to the fights. We had 2 title fights. I thought I was having a really good night. I ended up finished 7-5. I lost 4 close decisions. I thought I should have won 3 of them. I think I should have went 10-2 on the night. But my man Ben cleaned house.
I was perfect right up till the beginning of the Aldo Sahabi fight. So yeah, through the top 3 fights on the card, I was perfect. It didn't go so great after that, but as you mentioned, like I was right in picking the Bukauskas Kudalaba fight, but I disagreed with the decision. And since I didn't put money on it, and my first duty is to the truth, not my own ego, like I don't count it as a win. I thought Bukauskas lost. I didn't think he looked great. My score at the end of the evening is whatever.
Well, we'll get into some decisions because I'm pretty adamant. I'm in the minority in one fight, but I'm pretty adamant that I had the right winner on that one. But let's go to the main event. The main event, the greatest welterweight of all time, according to him, Belal Muhammad, defended his belt for the first time against Jack Della Maddalena, who kind of was the backup. He wasn't the first choice. Shavkat Rakhmonov was. Rakhmonov was, kept getting injured. They couldn't book the fight. Muhammad got injured. There was a whole big thing going on. It just seemed like they couldn't make that fight. Instead, Jack Della Maddalena, kind of the overlooked guy. People were talking about Ian Gary a couple weeks ago. People were talking about Shavkat Rakhmonov. People were talking about Islam Makhachev, all this stuff. And it's Jack Della Maddalena who wins 3 rounds to 2, 4 rounds to 1. Some people had it 5-0. If you told me ahead of time that one fighter was going to win 5-0, I would have thought Belal Muhammad just absolutely schooled Jack Della Maddalena. I was so wrong. Before we get into the actual contest, though, I want to take you back for a second. We were doing the show back then. I'm going to take you back in the time machine. Someone who can edit can do like a little sound. We're going back. Ben was like 50 pounds heavier then. I'm going to take you back to July 15th, 2023. Do you know what happened July 15th, 2023?
I don't actually. Hit me up.
I will tell you. That was the day that the entire MMA community said how bad Jack Della Maddalena was, that he was so overrated because he had to win a super close fight against UFC newcomer, last second replacement,
Basil Hafez.
Basil Hafez. And now fast forward, I don't know how many 4 or 5 fights later, he is the undisputed welterweight champion of the world, the best welterweight in the world. Ben, we didn't like his performance, but to our credit, we didn't jump off the bandwagon. We kept saying, don't judge on one fight.
Yeah. I mean, you can't watch the sport for as long as we have and cover it professionally for as long as we have and be chronic overreactors. If anything, I mean, you talk about yourself as being the guy that gets caught up in the moment, but by the standards of the average fan, and if you're watching this, I'm not talking about you. You're not the average fan if you're watching this. You are super hardcore, and you probably, at least about certain things, know as much as we do. But by the standards of the average fan, we are underreactors, not overreactors. By the standards of the fan that watches 5 pay-per-views a year, yeah. I'm always going to be slow to judge a fighter based on one performance, especially one performance against a short notice opponent. Yeah. You can't win as many fights in a row as, well, someone like Jack Della Maddalena without finding ways to win on a bad night at the office and at least a little bit of luck. Best example I can think of is like greats from other sports, like between 1985 and 1995, Michael Jordan went from somebody that you can't stop me on my best night to you can't stop me ever. Like I found a way to win and deliver when my ankle hurts, when I got a cold, when I got a fever of 104. Sure. The same as people like, I don't know, Roger Clemens, where, in their late 30s, all of a sudden they have ways to win when they don't have their 99 mile an hour fastball and would just literally say something like, well, if I'm throwing in the bullpen, I don't have my best fastball, I just slow down my curveball so that, I still have all my tools. Like you can't win 7, 8, 10 fights in a row in a sport as unpredictable as MMA without a little bit of luck and the ability to just get your hand raised on a tough night at the office. Jack Della Maddalena had all that.
Yeah. And honestly, what it came down to is the strategy. His strategy was fantastic. All we kept hearing about is the pressure of Belal Muhammad. He's going to take you into the deep waters, all that. I mean, it wasn't talking about getting to the deep waters. It wasn't until the 4th round to Belal Muhammad even got his swim trunks on. Like them by taking out someone to the deep waters. He had an answer for everything Belal Muhammad was doing. His smart strategy was press the action to Belal Muhammad, stay away from the cage, be in the center of the cage, keep forcing Belal on the back foot. So he's kind of have to do these reactionary doubles, which is obviously a little harder than, shooting in with the guy's hands, bringing the hands up to his head. I think that was absolutely brilliant. His range control was really good. His head movement was fantastic. He was slipping. He was landing clean shots, but not putting everything into it. So he wouldn't overthrow at times. So Muhammad wouldn't be able to get under his punch. So he was throwing a lot of his stuff at like 60, 70%. He was changing the speeds. He was changing the angles he was throwing them. He was like they kept talking about him like throwing a jab and dipping down. So anytime he threw something big, he's dropping right back down in case Muhammad was trying to get underneath him. I was blown away by Jack Della Maddalena tonight. I don't think Belal Muhammad had a bad night. Like, I don't think he had a bad performance. I still feel very high on him. I think he came on. I thought he showed his freaking balls late in the fight where he really pressed it, had Jack Della Maddalena in trouble at some times. He got too big of a hole. Tried like hell. No one other probably than Belal Muhammad could get himself back in the fight like that, like the way he did. It was just too much. He ran out of time.
He did run out of time. And here's the thing. And when I say this, I'm not making any excuses for Belal Muhammad because I'm going to say something similar about Alexa Grasso when we get to her fight. Muhammad didn't really look like the version of himself that we're used to seeing until late in the 3rd round. But that's in part because Della Maddalena's game plan was so good. I think Muhammad, he may have had a questionable game plan to start with, but I also think he was just surprised at how crisp and fast Della Maddalena's hands were. Dev pointed out in the Sherdog Slack as we were kind of watching the fights that Della Maddalena was throwing straighter punches than he often does. The quickest route from one point to another as a straight line. It made his hands seem even faster. He just kept stinging Muhammad on the counter, and that made Muhammad less willing to march forward and throw punches like he normally does. So yeah, Muhammad didn't really look like himself for a lot of the fight, but that's down to Della Maddalena just having a fantastic game plan, well executed. Now, if Muhammad comes out and he looks like he looks off in his next fight against whoever, then we can say, okay, maybe it's the infection, maybe it's just being 37, maybe it's that the bone infection in the toe. But right now, I'm not interested in making excuses for him. He doesn't need me to do that. I'm more interested in Della Maddalena doing something that the odds weren't that long, but still feels kind of like a shock to the world moment just because of how he did it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with what you said. Like, Belal didn't get going until probably the late third, early fourth. And that was because of what Della Maddalena was doing to him, put in front of him. Muhammad needed that pace. Muhammad could still fight tonight. He could fight another 3, 4, 5 rounds tonight. No problem. That's the thing. Even as beat up as he was, bloodied up. I mean, Della Maddalena was still having success. I gave him the 5th round anyways. So, like, I wasn't trying to say, like, Della Maddalena was gassing or anything, but that's what Belal needed to happen. The problem is he needed that pace in the first and second round. It was kind of like the tortoise and the hare story, where like the tortoise is fooling around, and I'm not saying Belal was, but I mean, now all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I gotta pick up the pace and run. Well, it's too late. You had to pick it up earlier for him to gas out. And again, like I believe that was Belal Muhammad's plan. And it's weird. Jack Della Maddalena won the first round, clearly won the first round, but he didn't blow him out of the water with his striking in the first round. And I think that was a good thing for him because it kept Muhammad more interested, trying to strike on the feet and have success on the feet, but still lose the round. Like, he won the round without Muhammad doing enough, but having it like, he won the fight, he won the round. Della Maddalena didn't expend too much energy, wins it, but also gave Muhammad just enough confidence to say, hey, like, there was one part they showed Muhammad was 0 for 4 at takedown attempts, and I'm like, I saw him shoot 1 or 2 times at the point. Where did they get these 4 takedown attempts? But I don't know if they're like weak snatch singles or something. I don't know. But I thought that Belal had to shoot. He wants to shoot near the cage. He really didn't get Jack Della Maddalena near the cage until little portions early on, but really the 4th and 5th rounds, the only time he really was able to take over.
And the one time he got him down and actually did any work from top position, it was in space, interestingly. Yeah,
believe it or not, yeah. When you watch the Gilbert Burns fight, which was Jack Della Maddalena's last fight, to see the improvement he was able to make going into better wrestler, going against a younger guy, a guy who's dominated people on look what Belal Muhammad did to Sean Brady, who's sensational, one of the best ground fighters in the division. And if you told me 2 things, that he was going to stop takedowns, but also Belal Muhammad was not going to shoot as much as he would. Like, Belal Muhammad should have shot 10 times a round. Like, he should have looked like Marab out there. But it wasn't. It was an absolute trashing. I went to MMA Decisions to see how many people gave Belal 1 round, gave Belal 2 rounds. It was almost a clean sweep for Jack Della Maddalena. Kendrick Johnson from MMA Weekly, and I like Kendrick. I know Kendrick.
I like Kendrick, but Kendrick's crazy.
He scored the fight.
What up, Kendrick?
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Like, he scored the fight for Belal. I don't know what the fuck he scored that fight for Belal, but I like Kendrick. But he probably bet on Belal and wanted to justify his bet. The UFC won tonight, and it's funny because Jack Della Maddalena is not a really marketable guy on the mic. He's boring this week. He didn't say anything. He was super. I mean, they had to have Craig Jones taking shots at Belal Muhammad. There was more like talk about Belal Muhammad and Kamaru Usman back and forth and stuff than Jack Della Maddalena. And I think the moniker of Belal Muhammad being boring is over. Like, it's not true. Like, the Leon Edwards fight wasn't boring. This fight obviously wasn't boring. He's not boring on the mic. But there's a ceiling to him. and he kind of was at the ceiling of his marketability, his promotion. I don't know where Jack could be.
Here's the thing, and I'll say this, and again, we're gonna steer clear of the real nitty gritty of the geopolitical issues here. But to the UFC's credit, for an organization that has a definite political slant itself from the top down, they've been super honorable about just not shying away from the fact that Belal is of Palestinian descent. They've let him walk out with the flag. They show him the flag. They mention it. So I'm very pleased and a little surprised by the UFC. Having said that, there's nothing controversial about another Australian champ. Boom, you've got another guy that can pack a 30,000 seat arena in Oceania once or twice a year, anytime you freaking want.
Well, the UFC stand, and some people are going to agree with it, some people aren't going to agree with it. It simply is this. Their big thing is say whatever you want. We're not going to tell people to say what you want. Obviously, there's a lot of people that's going to support Belal Muhammad in the Palestine stand. There's going to be a lot of people that's going to be against it. I would say a majority of the people kind of say, well, you know what? Both sides are kind of fucked up. But I think they would rather have a Palestinian American as a champion than another Australian.
Really?
Just not. I do. Just not Belal.
Okay.
Take Ilia Topuria. Obviously, he's Georgian and he's Spanish, but if he was Palestinian, they would love it.
They'd probably be fine. So you think it's down more to just the personality and then what they deliver in the in-cage product?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Della Maddalena, he's not a super charismatic guy, but neither was Robert Whittaker until you really, really got to know him. He's just kind of this genial guy, pretty happy, would kind of laugh it off when people did try to trash talk him. Della Maddalena at the best kind of projects as that kind of champ, if he's champ long enough that we get a reign and really get to know him. But just being from a part of the world that loves MMA so much and is relatively light on homegrown talent, again, it's another guy that they can stick him in Melbourne, Sydney, and he'll pack an arena.
I seen a lot of people talking about that Belal will never get another title shot, being like he had to take this crazy road to get it. He kind of got that, not the Leon Edwards treatment, but almost Leon Edwards treatment where he's got to clean out the old division. Now he's going to do it again. People asking he's going to get an immediate rematch. That I can guarantee is not going to happen.
Well, the UFC's already said what's going to happen next. I don't like it, but
okay. Yeah. I kind of heard, but let's do this before we say what you would do. Let's do the telephone game.
Okay.
So for those who were watching the first time, we do this thing where UFC matchmaker picks up the phone. Who's the first person you're calling to get a title fight? Jack Della Maddalena says, I want to fight in, we'll say, I don't know, August. Late August, he wants to fight. Yeah, pick it up. He says, I'll fight anybody. Here's the contract. I already signed it. You fill in the name. You're picking up. You're calling who?
I'm calling Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Okay. We have a disagreement right off the top.
All right.
I normally wouldn't do this because I don't think it's that marketable fight, but I'm giving it to Islam Makhachev simply because he's been such a company man, fighting Volkanovski on short notice, fighting this guy, fighting that guy. He's a pound-for-pound champ. He wants to move up. Now, I don't like the matchup in the sense of, I saw somebody put in the chat saying, I never wanted to see Jack Della Maddalena before Islam Makhachev until tonight. And I agree. I still would rather see Ilia Topuria fight Islam Makhachev. But sometimes your people, you just got to take care of. He really wants to move up. He kind of deserves it. Something that Khabib never did. I'll give it to Islam. All right, second call. I'm calling Shavkat.
Okay.
The undefeated, the other than Ian Gary, that streak he had of stoppages. Who's the second person you're picking? I'm calling. Shavkat says, I'm injured. I can't do it. Who are you calling?
I'm probably calling Brady, honestly. It's either Brady or Gary, and I'd probably lean slightly towards Brady.
Okay. So number 3, you're going to go Gary now?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Gary over Brady just because of, you need one side to talk. Brady's not going to talk. Brady's open up a little bit more, But Brady and stylistically, Brady versus Jack Della Maddalena, it's a fantastic fight.
Yeah.
But I'm calling Ian Gary. And then fourth, I'm calling Brady. At that point, you're kind of out of options.
Yeah. At that point, I'm out of options. At that point, I entertain the possibility of calling Islam. Because here's the thing. If I'm really itching for a cross-divisional super fight, I'm making Ilya versus Islam.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. No, I totally agree. What if Buckley starches Usman? When is that fight? I know it's booked, but when is that fight booked? Or it's rumored. They keep talking about it all week.
In the chat, let us know if you know when Buckley versus Usman is. I know that they made it, and I want to say it's like in July. Like it's not International Fight Week, but it's like after that. But like, let me know.
Yeah. What if Buckley starches Usman?
If Buckley starches Usman and says the right thing, I wouldn't be necessarily in favor of it, but it's not ridiculous anymore. Like he's another guy that's gone from a highlight machine that loses too much to he's actually won a bunch of fights recently. He's shown that he can win a fight when he doesn't just kill a guy. Oh, it's coming up soon. It's in Atlanta. Of course, Antoine knows because Antoine is in Atlanta. Nice.
Yeah. So all right. So we got in Atlanta. Yeah, I mean Buckley's fun because obviously the way he fights, he's super explosive. He has possibly the greatest knockout in UFC history. He's got to call Jack Della Maddalena a hoe, some shit like. Yeah. So everyone keeps saying like Islam versus Ilya, 100%. If you told me I can only pick one fight, it's my second pick. Even though I think they're the two best fighters in the world, I think they're pound the top two fighters in the world. The only fight I'm taking over that, and that this is like steak or lobster to me. You asked me one day, what I like better, steak or lobster? I'm saying steak. The next day I'm saying lobster. Like you can't go wrong with me with that. The only one I'm doing is Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. And the only reason, even though I think Ilya and Islam's a better fight, I've never seen John Jones lose. And to me, this is the guy who has the best chance.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd want to see it. All right, so we kind of know where we're going. The UFC, I'm assuming the UFC said Islam's getting it. Is that what you just...
Yeah, they said almost immediately that Islam versus Della Maddalena is next.
Yeah, Dana said it at the press conference. I don't know if he doubled down tonight, right now at the post-fight press conference. What are you doing with Belal Muhammad?
I'm giving him someone like Buckley if he gets past, or Randy Brown, just any top 10 welterweight coming off a win that hasn't fought Belal already. Because here's the thing, Belal has kind of the same problem that Leon Edwards did in that because he had to win, or at least go undefeated for like 10 fights in a row to get to the title picture, he's already fought a lot of dudes.
Yeah. I'm gonna do Usman Buckley winner just because there is some buzz between him and Usman right now. I'm not saying Usman's gonna win that fight, but if he does, and then obviously, like you said, he's beaten up all the guys except for the very top guys, Shavkat, Ian Gary. He's already beaten Brady. Like you start getting the rematches. You can't do Leon Edwards again.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Belal Muhammad, you're a Sean Brady fan now. Because if Brady makes it up and wins, you can kind of circumvent these 6 fights in a row that the UFC is going to make you win. Otherwise, you know, get back into the title picture.
Yeah, Brady keeps winning it, kind of like he's pushing you up with him.
Oh, so. Stu Pedasso, which is a fantastic screen name, says Belal versus Colby. Okay, so yeah, if you want a publicity buildup where people are saying the quiet part out loud, probably on both sides of a complicated issue, book that one. I will take a month's vacation ahead of it, just because
it's almost too, like, Colby always crosses the line. It's almost too controversial right now. Like, I know the UFC wants, and I mean, I guess the bad press is still better than no press thing, or whatever that saying is. I guess the UFC could really. Oh god! Did you get his comment? That's actually very funny. I'm not sharing it. Go to the chat for that one. But yeah, I just, again, I am Ben's a liberal. I'm a conservative. I bet you me and you are different on the topic. I don't think either one of us is probably super passionate, but we probably have a different view on the topic.
And I mean, I have a certain amount of nuance on it. Like, I'm not in favor of like all the terroristic acts that kind of kicked this off, within the last year or two, like kind of restarted the fire, completely against them. Like, if you're a terrorist, if you attack civilians to make a political point,
Sure.
fuck you. You're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we're in the same. But on the flip side, like, we want peace. Everybody wants peace. But
and those are people that are there and like deserve a place to live, not as second-class citizens. Like, it is a complicated issue. We're not solving it on a fight recap.
No, definitely not. I can't even say Modestus Bukax's name correctly, and I want to get into the Israel-Palestine war.
You know what?
That's been going on for hundreds of years.
Apparently, Bruce Buffer has lost the ability to say Natalia, so you're still ahead of him.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah. I don't want Kobe. Like, I don't hate his stick. Like, sometimes it goes too far. Like the Leon Edwards' dad thing to me was just, that was too far. That was the one that was like, okay, that's too far. But I don't know. Like, this is super complicated. Like, let's people smarter than me should be talking about, and I think I'm smarter than Kobe Covington. All right, let's move on. So Jack Della Maddalena is the champion. I think it's good. I think it makes the division so much more exciting because it just opens up so many opportunities. Like, Brady's back in the mix, and I mean he always was, but he's quicker up the mix. Obviously, if it's
dude. Even if Belal had won tonight, Brady's making a case for a rematch.
Sure.
Just every time he goes out. So like the division is a more interesting place all of a sudden.
Before that, Valentina Shevchenko took on Manon Fiorot. Valentina Shevchenko winning unanimous decision. Dude, let me ask you this. How'd you score the fight?
Oh, you know what? I was writing the matches to make article as I went, so I wasn't scoring it super closely, but I had it 2-2 going into the last round.
Okay.
And that's the one where I especially wasn't watching very closely.
Okay.
Out of the corner of my eye, I gave it to Shevchenko, but if I rewatch it and I score it for Manon Fiorot, then I've got Manon Fiorot 48-47, even though by pride rules, even though by look at her face, look at mine rules, Shevchenko won. Because here's the thing, the first 4 rounds, I scored 2 for each fighter, but 2 of them were very close, and 2, Shevchenko whooped that ass. Like, the fight wasn't close to a finish. It wasn't, there were no 10-8 rounds, but the 2 rounds that Shevchenko won, like, I guess 2 and, 1 and 4, she like hurt Manon Fiorot, like cut her, busted her up, made her nose bloody, wobbled her, if not knocked her down completely. And then the rounds that Manon Fiorot won were really close.
Okay. So I checked MMA decisions, and it was like, I don't know where I wrote it down, but it was like, it was 16-2 for Valentina. And I am utterly shocked by these scorecards. I was one of the 2 people who scored it for Manon Fiorot. I had 48-47 Manon Fiorot, and I thought it was kind of clear. I really do. I 100% agree with what you're saying, where the rounds Valentina, well, all right, let me back up. The damage was all done in the first round. You know, when she walks off the cage and you see her face, that was all from the first round. I mean, she beat her ass in the first round. And then other than dropping her at the very end of the 4th round, I don't think Valentina did shit for the rest of the fight. I thought now again, Manon did not have a wonderful performance, but to me, she outstruck her landing. If you go by the stats, she outstruck her 3 out of 4 rounds. Had the control time in all 4 rounds. I was going to score the 4th round. I was writing in the 4th round for her, going to say, "Oh my god, I got her up 3-1," until Shevchenko caught it. Kind of didn't even like hurt her. They just kind of caught her off balance right at the very end. And people are going to say, "What did Valentina Shevchenko do?" She didn't do shit. She stood on her back foot. She got pressed against the cage. She got kneed over and over again. She got kneed in the belly. You look at the numbers. She got out again. Take out the first round. So like when you look at the total strikes, Shevchenko is going to look like she landed more strikes, but from 2nd round on, Manon Fiorot controlled that fight. She landed the shots. I thought she landed the better shots. Yeah, Valentina landed some good punches coming in, but she also was eating knees up the middle and the gut and the clinch. Like, go ask Bo Nickel how those feel. And I wasn't just personally dropping a Bo Nickel. Again, I'm not like I don't think it was like, oh my god, it was an absolute robbery. I'm not saying any of that. Like, I understand what you're saying. I just think by the way MMA is scored, I thought Manon Fiorot won.
And I have no problem with that. Like, again, I had it even going into the 5th round. And if I rewatch that 5th round and I think Manon Fiorot won that round, I have no problem scoring the 5-4. Like,
all right. Yeah. No. And it seemed like everybody, I mean, there was a couple of people gave it like 49 for, there was like 3 or 4 gave it 49-46 for Shevchenko, which I'm very surprised. But anyways, let's talk about the good and bad. The good that I thought I saw Shevchenko do. The good, she was, especially early on, she was timing Manon Fiorot's entries. The first round, she was timing her entries, piecing her up, couldn't miss with her counter left. The bad thing she did is she became a stationary target, did the complete opposite of what Jack Della Maddalena did. She stayed herself in the warning track, which allowed Manon Fiorot to close the distance, use her size, and kind of bully her. Now I'll flip over to what I like from Manon Fiorot. The good, exactly what I just said. She used her size. She made adjustments after the first round. Like, after the first round, this looked like this was about to be an ass whooping.
Yeah.
And it was going to be one of those Valentina, you all must have forgot kind of moments. Manon Fiorot made an adjustment. She kind of was using her legs to kind of close the distance, and she used her size controlled. Actually won the grappling. And the bad, I don't think she should have fainted her way in a little bit more. Tell me anything to stand out to you.
Well, I'm with you on that. At the end of the first round, I was like, oh, Valentina Shevchenko is Valentina Shevchenko again, because that was pretty much what she looked like on her title reign, even like leading up to and before the trilogy with Grasso, where it was just, I'm better everywhere. I'm going to win the striking until I feel like taking you down. And then I'm going to like beat your ass on the ground. I'm like, oh, she's back. So it was impressive to me to see Manon Fiorot kind of gather herself, make some adjustments, because one thing we hadn't really seen out of her, even on this streak, is we hadn't really seen her have to come back from much adversity. She was just too much for most of the women she fought. So it was interesting to see her make adjustments, again, fight back from some adversity. We have seen some very good fighters just get the fight taken out of them by a busted beak early in a fight. Like, don't underestimate that. So Manon proving that she belonged is, I mean, Brian Conley says, anybody named Barry? Yeah, it was short of winning the best thing that could possibly happen for her, because I'm not in favor of an immediate rematch, but she has not made a rematch unpalatable at some point down the road. Ninja Kitty says Manon had 0% impact on her shots.
Yeah, I put that up for a reason, because that's like what most people are trying to say. And I know Ninja Kitty likes to troll, like, so half the time he says something or she says something, it's for trolling. But yeah, Manon Fiorot probably didn't do that much. I kind of disagree, but say I give that to you. Say I give it to you that she didn't do it. She didn't do any impact with her striking. That's better than Valentina Shevchenko, 0 striking. She didn't land shit. She stood on her back foot. She swung. She missed. She got pressed against the cage. She got kneed and kept getting kneed over and over again.
Yeah. And some of striking really.
It's a Jose Aldo. It's a Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista fight. Like, Mario Batista didn't do shit. Yeah, but you know what? Jose Aldo didn't do either. He got pressed against the cage and do shit.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of judging is about the fighter's reaction to the offense. Like, we're not the ones getting punched in the face. So it's great that Shevchenko kind of has that stone face Russian thing and no sells her opponent's offense. But unless she's throwing something appreciable back herself, the term better than nothing comes to mind.
Yeah. So that's what Spaffron, I'm saying the same. I agree. I think Manon's. I was giving them that Manon didn't land the better strikes. I disagree with that. I actually thought she did. I honestly thought it was an easy fight to score. I really did. It was close, but I think it was to me, I thought it was easy. Obviously, I'm in the minority. I'm gonna make a statement, and people are gonna scoff at this, but I feel like of the current UFC champions, I'm not going. I'm kind of in the moment saying this, so bear with me. Okay. Take out Juliana Pena because Kayla Harrison's gonna maul her. Okay. Of the current UFC champions, I think Valentina Shevchenko is one of the most likely to lose soon.
One of the more vulnerable ones.
I will say something that people are going to think of in her last 5 fights, I think she should be 1-4. I think she lost 4 of her last 5 fights. And I'll give it to you. I scored it for Talia Santos over her. I scored it. Obviously, she got choked out by Grasso in the second fight. The draw, I gave it to Grasso. The 4th fight was her best showing. I mean, the 4th fight, which would be the 3rd fight against Grasso, was the best show. And I thought she lost tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking at the draw right now.
And I think most people scored it for Shevchenko, but I didn't.
The draw, actually, it's dead. It's literally dead even. It looks like, or no, it's 11 for Shevchenko, 10 for Grasso, and 1 draw.
Okay, and I scored it for Grasso, right?
Yep.
Okay. But did you submit a scorecard or no?
I did not submit a scorecard.
So you gave it to Grasso, so it's dead even then. Give me other than Pena, who's a more vulnerable champion right now? No, there's people like.
I mean, it's weird to say John Jones, but like it's a weird different case.
Yeah. There's people that are there's people who are champions right now that there's people I would pick against, but when I've seen it multiple times now, where I feel like, wow, this person got lucky again. Like to me, it's like 4 of the last 5 fights, our 5 fights, they should be 1-4. And again, you can make the argument that, I mean, obviously the argument is some people could argue that she should be 4-1. Yeah, and even the Grasso fight that she was losing, she was winning at that point. Fair enough. What are we doing next with Shevchenko?
I'm giving her Natalia Silva.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna play the telephone game. Natalia can't make it. She's injured. Who are you calling next?
I'm calling Jasmine Jasdabisius.
Oh, okay. She wouldn't miss it, but somehow I don't know. America and Canada go to war. She can't come to America. Who are you calling next?
Weili Zhang or Manon Fiorot.
Okay.
I'm just trying to save on my long distance pills.
Yeah, I'll call Weili first. And if I'm Weili and I watch this fight tonight, I'm like, all right, who am I going to fight it? Who do I beat at strawweight? Like, I'd be dying to get to Valentina's fight right now. How's her?
And if I'm going that way, it's more down to what Weili Zhang wants and what Weili Zhang deserves, really. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
She is somebody that has effectively cleaned out her division.
Yeah,
and I don't say that easily.
Obviously, she's a star in China. She's really a star. I mean, I've seen her fight in person twice now, and the chair she gets is unbelievable for like someone. I know she's been speaking English a little bit, but obviously not someone who says outlandish things or anything. But she's super popular, and more. It's like the fighter moving up gains more legacy than they lose. You know, like when Cyborg and Amanda Nunes fought, it was going to do a lot more for Amanda Nunes winning than if Cyborg beat. You're supposed to win. There's a reason why there's weight classes.
Yeah, so usually the far greater risk and lower reward is for the heavier fighter.
Yeah, so you don't risk too much. You're still a champion if you lose of the other weight class. You can take out a bigger name. She looks like she's like you just had one of the best performances of your career. She just had, in my opinion, one of her worst performances of her career. it's the biggest fight. It can even you could argue you could headline a pay-per-view. They probably wouldn't, but weaker pay-per-view, they could headline it. If I'm Whaley, I'm doing that one. So then the second phone call I'm doing.
You stick it in China if Valentina's willing.
And she would.
She would. I mean, she's from Kyrgyzstan.
She's probably her next training camp would probably
Kyrgyzstan is closer to Beijing than it is to Moscow.
Yeah. I mean, her next training camp will probably be in Beijing for some random reason, anyways. But it won't be like one of the top teams in Beijing. It would just be some like random. I remember when she had the training camp, and it was in like it was like where my wife lives. It was like freaking New Brunswick, Fredericton, or some shit. So who knows? But the second phone call I'm calling Macy Barber, Erin Blanchfield, especially Macy if she wins. Macy's super marketable. She can speak well. I'm calling that fight first. Then I'm calling Natalia Silva. Then I'm calling Yasmin Jasovicius.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate any of the resulting fights there. I just, when it comes time for these things, I try to concentrate on who's been doing the best, most consistent work in the division. Because if you stray from that too often, it starts to render your divisions meaningless. Sure. And when like the bottom falls out of it all when fighters don't feel like there's a clear or at least understandable route to the title. It's tougher to get investment from your fans, when it feels like a popularity contest or just a race to make the most exciting next fight you can. And you're throwing over all of kind of the competitive value of what your title is doing a year from now. So I always try to look at people like, again, Shavkat, Natalia Silva, who's now won, 7 and 12 in a row, 13 in a row overall, like 7 in the UFC, over increasingly solid competition to the point where she's beaten, Jessica Andrade and Alexa Grasso in her last 2 fights.
Yeah.
Like if that person isn't rewarded with a title shot next, like what the hell else does she have to do?
So my thing is there's always the other person who's next in the division. When you have a chance at one of these super fights, where it's one that feels right, not just like, okay, this, if right now Jack Della Maddalena was like, hey, I want to move up and try to get the middleweight title, I'll be like, all right, dude, you're not jumping the line. If Belal Muhammad won tonight and try to do it, no, you're not jumping the line. It's the ones, because you're always going to have the next person in the division.
Yep. Well, almost always. Yeah. All right. Like when the perfect example is when Israel Adesanya said, I'm going to move up and challenge Jan Blachowicz because I'm literally looking at giving these same dudes second and third tries at taking the title from me. Like it is possible to actually completely clean out a division.
Sure. Exactly. All right. Before that, we had another extremely close fight. Jose Aldo took on Ayman Zahabi in a 145-pound fight that originally was supposed to be a bantamweight. Ayman Zahabi winning a split decision. Ben, how'd you score it?
I scored it for Aldo.
So did I. It was 16-2 on MMA's decision. So those 2 people gave it a draw. I don't know which round they would have scored 10-8. 2 people scored a 10-8. You can't give the third round a 10-8 to Zahabi when he almost got knocked out in the same round. So I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I thought this was a pretty straightforward fight to score. And that's always the worst kind of bad decision for me. Like not where it's outlandish, because like we always remember those and we'll talk about them forever. It's just like it's when they're missing like the fat pitch across the plate. They're missing the ball at T-ball. Like this was super simple, guys. Aldo won the first 2 rounds. Zahabi won.
Oh man, dude, I did score the first 2 rounds for Aldo. I thought the second round was close. Everyone keeps saying this is the worst decision on the card.
It wasn't the worst decision on the card.
Oh yeah. On the main card, fair enough. We're gonna go to another one that. Yeah, I was on the wrong side of a lot of decisions. At least 3 of them, 3 out of 4. I will say this, regardless of who you thought won, to me, Zahabi looked good. And if we went back 6 or 7 years ago, and you told me Ayman Zahabi would have beat even at this age Jose Aldo, I would have laughed at you. Yeah. And it's not even that he. And if you did tell me he beat him, I'd say, oh wow, Jose Aldo is so washed at that point that he just gets like jabbed from distance. That's not how this fight went down. Amin has a lot more dog in him than I thought.
Yes. This card was kind of full of fighters showing different depths to themselves in the intangibles. Yeah, like Manon Fiorot, like bouncing back and making adjustments after getting whooped on. Belal Muhammad actually kind of turning on the jets in the late rounds instead of just doing his usual slow, like, relentless build. Yeah, Amin Zahabi just kind of showing some dog against Jose Aldo. No, I completely agree with you on this. Like, dude, Amin Zahabi has been in the UFC for 8 years now, over 8 years.
Yeah.
This is the first time that he has fought twice in a calendar year.
And he's never looked better.
Never looked better.
And I mean, Aldo gassed out late, and that's what gave Zahabi the win. Zahabi won the third round. I just kept thinking the same thing. When I thought Aldo was going to win the decision, and my thing was like, damn, what if this fight was at 135? Like this, and again, obviously it worked out for Zahabi. He won, but I thought he was going to lose a decision, and I'd be like, damn, he's not going to get a decision because Aldo did not cut the extra weight, which Zahabi did. He was 0.8 off, and I think Aldo was like 10 pounds off. So I thought it was funny when Aldo kept complaining about fouls, and I think it was the second round. And I'm like, dude, you can't complain about anything Zahabi does when you missed weight by 10 pounds.
Yeah, that's. And we're talking about a guy in Aldo that had never missed weight before. And he's a guy that even at 145, just by the eyeball test, looked like he had a miserable weight cut, to the point that it seemed insane when he dropped to 135 at like age 33 or 34, whatever he was. This time, all the wheels fell off the wagon. He retired in the cage. If he decides he wants to fight again, I think it's 145 or bust. Like, why do this again?
Yeah, that for sure. I have the same thing. If he does fight again, he still has it. I mean, that obviously is there. He still has it. If what stood out to me was he said that he doesn't want to cut anymore. He doesn't, and he said it wasn't even just the weight cut; it's all the build up. I get that. He's been doing this a long time. I almost want to see him now fight. And obviously, he can still fight, and he can still be a lot of good people. But I'm okay if we've already done the how you got to remember Jose Aldo. Possibly the greatest featherweight of all time. Make that. We're not going to do that debate right now, but make that debate however you want. To me, he's a no-brainer. You can't name 10 fighters better though. He's locked in the top 10.
Yeah.
For now, I mean, obviously people come along, but as of right now, he's top 10. I always think about his early leg kicks, like one of the best kickers of all time early on, and then in like almost impossible to take down. And he fought some good wrestlers in his day. Chad Mendes, Frankie Edgar.
Frankie Edgar at UFC 200 is just maybe the greatest takedown defense performance in that high level of fight in MMA history.
Yeah. And then and the other thing I always remember, and it's not a good one, but one of the holy shit moments on the wrong side. If you give me a top 5 holy shit moments in MMA, it's going to be Conor McGregor one punching him.
Yeah, sure.
So, Haven's on a roll. And before we get to the next fight, we got to pause for a second. We do the how will you remember people. Vitor Belfort was inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. He goes way, way back. I think it was like UFC 12, 11, 12. I think he first debuted. I think he was 19 years old.
Yeah, I want to say it was UFC 12.
His first MMA fight, he was Victor Gracie. So, you know how I feel about the UFC Hall of Fame. Everyone gets in. It's more like the WWF Hall of Fame than an actual Hall of Fame.
Sure.
And I'm okay with that. Like, it's okay, fine, whatever. If you want, I would prefer if it was a legit Hall of Fame where you had guys like Kevin Iole and John Morgan, and maybe we get some votes, and you have a 5-year waiting list and all that. You have to get so much percentage. That'd be cool. But until then, we'll take the UFC Hall of Fame for what it is. How will you remember Vitor Belfort?
I feel bad just shoveling dirt onto a guy on what clearly was a big moment for him. I mean, she showed real emotion here, but dude, I remember him as one of the most blatant chronic cheaters of that era in the UFC. I mean, we're talking about a guy that popped for steroids, didn't like his suspension, so he just went and fought in an unregulated place for a couple of years, came back, like
I love that I was setting up a nice moment. And Ben just goes straight with he's a fucking cheater.
It doesn't give me any joy to say it, but I'm not even talking about Pride, because steroids were encouraged in Pride, and sure enough, he showed up like this 240-pound, one of the more cartoonishly jacked fighters ever, and still lost to Sakuraba, who was like taking smoke breaks before the fight. Like you can't inject heart. Like his highlight reel is incredible. Like his TRT era comeback in like 2013 when he head kicked 3 top 10 fighters in a calendar year.
Yeah.
Like his top moments are incredible. He is a pioneer. He's an important part of the legacy of the sport. But for me, there is a gulf between him and other people of similar accomplishments, just because he didn't just pop multiple times for PEDs, but he never took his medicine. He just thought of himself as the exception to every rule, and literally just went and fought in cage rage for a while because he couldn't get because he was banned in the US. Like,
I think of what you said, like you said the most blatant cheater. I just picture like Josh Barnett right now, like doing that, like that Homer Simpson fading into the bushes thing.
Well, either that or him doing the Leonardo DiCaprio, like sitting up and pointing at the screen right now. Yeah. What about me?
Oh, that's 2 Spider-Man.
And for the record, I love Barnett too. Like,
yeah, two. So, all right, this is all I remember. Vitor Belfort. Everything you said. I love that you said highlight, because that's what I wrote down. Possibly the best highlight of anybody ever. Like when you think about the peak of Vitor, he never had that run. He never had the Anderson Silva run, the George St. Pierre, something like that. People say who's the greatest fighter of all time is John Jones. Who's second? I have people ranked ahead of Khabib Nurmagomedov. But if you tell me prime, who's the best fighter you've seen for a short period of time, the most dominant fighter I've ever seen was Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's the biggest what if. Okay. But fights, individual holy shit moments, Vitor is right there.
Yep.
What he did to people. I will always remember Vitor and Stu Pedasso. I apologize if I said your name wrong. Mentioned
you just say it over and over again. You realize he's saying stupid ass. Like it's not his real name. He's just messed
He got me good. He got me good.
Yeah.
Nice job. You got me good. He mentioned the Vanderlei Silva fight, obviously. I will always remember I was probably, 15 years old. I was at my friend, this guy, I got to get him on the show one day. My friend Jared Valenti, who used to watch the fights. And I remember having Ian Rosenholm was there, and my friend Mike Lasasso, who's still one of my best friends, was there. And the whole room watching, rooting for Vitor. And I was that one guy because I was a wrestler rooting for Randy Couture. He was my favorite fighter because he was a wrestler. I never thought I was crazy. But my first memory of Vitor will be and not my first. I remember when he ran through Scott Ferroso and all that. But when he got booked against Tank Abbott, and it was like, holy shit, speed versus power, and he ran right through Tank, which it sounds silly now, but at that time was a massively huge win. So that's how I always remember Vitor Belfort. So congratulations to Vitor Belfort. Moving on, Alexa Grasso took on Natalia Silva.
Did she though?
Well, she was in the cage, and
yeah,
Silva's an issue. So Silva won a unit. She is an issue. She's an issue for the division. And I'll tell you why. She's still fairly young.
She's 28. She's very young.
But she's in her prime years.
Mm-hmm.
She's athletic. She's super fast, super elusive, ability to strike while backing up is such a rare ability. And she's accurate, and we didn't see her ground game. And she's a good grappler. We didn't see that tonight. What I love, this woman started her career 6-5. She started her career 1-3.
Mm-hmm. It's there. Brazil still does not have much of a developed amateur scene, so you get 17-year-old kids fighting professionally when they should be learning how to fight in AMI fights, and so you end up with people like her. You end up with people. I mean, you end up with people like Vicente Luque. He started his career like 6-6, and ended up becoming like a top 10 fighter in one of the deepest divisions in the sport for a minute. It's a uniquely Brazilian thing, at least in terms of it's still happening today.
I don't think she gets the next call for the title, but if she does, I'm very intrigued by the matchup. I think it looks a lot different than Grasso because I don't think Valentina chases her. So I think she has to change what she wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But who would be the betting favorite right now? Silva versus Shevchenko.
You know what? Considering that Shevchenko was just the underdog to Manon Fiorot, and she was the underdog to Manon, and at least in your view, she lost the fight, but nobody thinks it was a blowout. I think it's possible that Shevchenko comes in as the underdog again.
She could. I'm intrigued. I wonder if there's a future line or something. I wonder. And then if they get another fight in and she looks like the way she did, or both fighters look like the way they did tonight, Silva would be a pretty good favorite. Grasso, I mean, she had one moment in the entire fight. It was like this one flurry. I think it was near the end of the second round. And the funny thing about that flurry, and it really was just she finally got in a range and she opened up with a big combination and she landed maybe 2 or 3 punches, and she still lost that exchange. Like she still ate the better shots in that exchange, and that was the moment the commentary team got all excited, and I was like, and then you see her face and she's all lumped up. Not really, really bad performance from the former champion. What do we do next with these guys? So you're giving Silva the title fight.
I'm giving Silva the title fight. Again, I think she's the most deserving person in the division based on her recent body of work. If you wanted to make a practical consideration call for Jasmine Jasudavicius just because she's 36 and has less time, like less of a window, I don't hate that. But yeah, if you're not doing that, I mean, Jade's saying Silva versus Valentina. The question is what you do with Grasso, because Grasso, her series with Shevchenko didn't really hurt her stock too badly, but she just looked so inert tonight. Like I picked Silva, you picked Silva, but I thought this fight was going to kind of turn on like Grasso coming forward, trying to get into boxing range, ignoring Silva's like constant twitchy hip feints, and taking advantage of the fact that Grasso is a very good puncher and Silva, very karate style, doesn't have great head movement. Like almost no fighter in MMA has great head movement, but karate fighters seem to depend on their stance and their distance strikes to keep their head out of danger. I figured Grasso would make it close that way, and she never did.
Yeah.
I think Grasso's next fight is about what her next opponent deserves. Really.
Yeah, I kind of, so I'm doing with Grasso and she's lost 2 fights in a row. She's winless in the last 3 fights.
Mm-hmm.
Again, to possibly to the current champion and possibly the next best in the division. So take that for what it's worth. But I'm putting her against someone who's kind of struggling too. And kind of you bury the person who loses and you kind of rebuild up the person who wins. I'm putting her against Caitlin Chikagian.
Do we know if there's a reason Chikagian is like perma shelved? Like,
I don't know. She re-signed with them, so I don't know. She might be in there having babies or so. I don't know what she's doing. Silva, I didn't do this before, so I didn't realize I skipped over it. I'm giving him Manon Fiorot, and the only reason I'm giving Manon Fiorot is because I'm giving Whaley the title fight, so they're kind of holding up the whole division. That I'm putting Blanchfield and Barber next, so there's kind of like a long wait.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do with Manon? Because I didn't ask you.
You know what? I'm kind of holding the Namajunas Maverick winner for Jasmine Jasudavicius, but if they wanted to give one of those people to Manon, I don't hate that.
Jasudavicius recently fought Maverick.
That's true. That's true. So it would kind of depend on how that fight shakes out, actually.
Okay. All right.
Does Tracy Cortez have a fight coming up?
What?
Cortez lost to Namajunas. I mean, it's almost a year ago at this point. Or yeah, she's fighting Viviane Araújo in like a month.
Before that, we had Benoit Saint Denis open up the card against taking the fight on day's notice. Kyle Prepelic. Benoit Saint Denis won by second round submission. I mean, the guy closed at a 13. This on the UFC on the broadcast. I know other lines of it, but negative 1350 favorite. Dude, what are we doing? Why didn't they change? Like, I understand day's notice. You do what you do to get a matchup, but why didn't they throw a different fight on the main card? I understand why you didn't do the Malat one that was like scheduled to kind of kick into the card, have an exciting moment. I understand you're not going to throw the Andrade fight on there because you're not going to do 3 women's fight on the main card. But, dude, you could have threw the freaking Santos Lee fight on for the main.
There's one reason, and it's that Benoit Saint Denis, as a French guy, they made him an honorary Quebecois, basically. Yeah. They knew that Saint Denis, you could have and Fior for that matter. We're gonna go down like native son and daughter with the Montreal crowd.
You could have threw Marc-Andre Barrios fight in. I don't know. Good of Prepelic to show up, but to me this did nothing for either guy other than get 2 guys paid. They got Benoit Saint Denis paid. Kai Prepelic got him paid.
Get him paid at least twice because he's going to get at least one more fight as a thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, it just when you're and I guess it's good for Saint Denis. You're in Canada. You get the win. You were on a 2-fight skid. Looked bad in both. I mean, he got knocked out by Poirier, then got absolutely ran through by Moicano. All right. He called out Justin Gaethje, and to me, you don't go from Kyle Prepelic to Justin Gaethje. He called out Mateusz Gamrot. Why would Gamrot take that fight? It makes no sense for him either. I'm giving him the guy who tried stepping up, Mateusz Rebecki. Rebecki tried to step up.
I like that just fine. I would also be fine with them remaking the Alvarez fight.
Yeah, I think Alvarez kills him.
Because here. Yeah. I think he does too, but again, and Bob Timpson, like sometimes Bob Timpson overstates things in the correct direction. I kind of agree with him here. Because here's the thing, like Saint Denis did exactly what he was supposed to against Prepelic, which is great. It got him paid, and it proves that he was who we thought he was, but we didn't learn anything new. So the Alvarez fight still makes sense to me. And you know what? It was the best fight. It was probably the best fight on this card outside of the title fights. Like it was the one I was most excited for. I still like it. Make it. But I don't hate
the either. Yeah, absolutely. As far as Prepelic, like they deserve a return to UFC. No, he's 35. He is what he is. He's 35 journeyman. You step up on day's notice, get an ass whooping like you did. I give him one more fight in like some fight night in Canada.
Hey, you know what? Benoit Saint Denis joined the UFC on day's notice and took a beatdown of the year level ass whooping. Got a few more chances and has turned out to have some staying power.
So what you're saying, Ben, is that Kyle Prepelic is going to move his way all the way up to be fighting the main event of a fight night. That's what you're saying.
Well, this is already Prepelic's second try, so we'll see how it goes.
Bob Simpson mentioned Rufy. I don't mind that fight. Rufy getting a fight like against Saint Denis. All right, everyone's favorite, before we get to the prelims, everyone's favorite portion of the card. This is the part where you call get to know your host. We pause a second from MMA. We get to know a host, also get to know some people in the chat. Ben, it's your turn to pick a topic. Nothing has topped our debate so far of pancakes versus waffles, where somehow it was unanimous in the chat. Team waffles, which you guys are still wrong. But Ben, what is your question of the night for get to know the host?
What is the worst purchase you've ever made? And I leave that open to being like an actual terrible investment of your money, just stupidest, hilarious purchase. Like what's the dumbest purchase you've ever made?
Well, I don't know if it's my dumbest. I'm sure I've bought a lot of extremely dumb things, but when you asked that question, the first thing that came to my mind was my Uncle Dan, the one who's from Texas. He was up, and my dad went to a auction, and they do them during the summer here, and it must have been no set. It was they usually do them on Saturdays. There must not have been a UFC that night, so we went out to the auction, and we're just like having fun. We're bidding for stupid shit, just $2, $3, doing it, and my uncle, the same night he got a coffin. He won a coffin, but I won the giant Mickey Mouse mask. But it wasn't. It was it was like Mickey Mouse had a stroke. It was made like someone made it. It wasn't like a professional thing. It was made of like ceramics and plaster of Paris and shit. And when I bought it, I put it on and it's like smelled. It was like mildew in it, and it was probably like stuck in someone's shed and I remember my two daughters were like, I don't think my son was even born. They were probably like 2 or 3 years old. And I came home thinking it would be all cool. Like, let me put it on. Like, oh, Mickey's here. And it was like gross. You couldn't see out of it. And I put it on. My kids were terrified. They went like running. And like, yeah, you couldn't imagine how bad this thing looked. And I outbid somebody for it. And then it got thrown in the trash. So that's the first thing that came to mind. What do you got?
Oh, well, here, I actually have some show and tell. There's a reason I asked this one because it's on my mind. So last weekend, like I guess 7-8 days ago at this point, I went to a gala for my wife. She's a nurse. Show only killed me with that one. She's specifically like a wound, ostomy, incontinence nurse. It's kind of like this upgraded nurse thing. So we went to her nurse's gala at one of the nice hotel ballrooms downtown. She works for, at worst, one of the 2 biggest hospital systems in Greater Houston. So we're talking about 2 dance floors, like 5,000 people at this event. Nice. And it's honoring all the nurses. And they have a silent auction going on in the lobby, and it's to raise money for pediatric cancer research. Most of the stuff on the silent auction tables is Houston sports memorabilia. This is Houston, so you got like signed Craig Biggio stuff, signed Akeem Olajuwon stuff, Clyde Drexler. I was stone cold sober at this point. Like I had a few drinks later, but I was stone cold sober when I walked by here. For a laugh, I signed up for one of these silent auctions. I found out the next morning that I had won. And so my only defense I can offer is, hey, I may have helped cure pediatric cancer, but
nice. Dude, what are you talking about? That's one of the best.
This is a signed poster of Emilio Estevez from the movie Young Guns.
Regulators.
At the very least, it's a nice like Warren G and Nate Dogg reference. Like this is pretty much the most early 90s thing ever. And as you can see, it's not small. Like the display they had of it next to the silent auction was much smaller than this. When this arrived, I mean, my wife was still amused.
Dude, that's so
it was a cautious amused, like, where the fuck are you going to hang that thing? She's like, dude, you got to take that to like your band rehearsal room and hang it there because she don't want this thing around there.
What are you talking about? You can hang that. That's all.
So now my goal in life is to chase down the other 5 regulators. Yes. I need a Lou Diamond Phillips signature. Is Kiefer Sutherland still alive?
Yeah, Keith Sutherland's still alive. And Charlie Sheen is.
Like Donald Sutherland just died, but he was like 300 years old.
Who's the guy in the back?
Ninja Kitty helping me defray the.
The guy in the back. Who's the guy next to Lou Diamond?
Brian. Drugs are. I mean, some drugs are bad. Some are okay. No drugs are to blame for this. I did this completely sober. I have no excuse.
Dude,
Anyway,
dude,
regulator.
that's fit. Dude, that is so fantastic. Um, oh my gosh. That how many people do you think in the chat has seen that movie other than me and you? Do you think there's any
Sound
is
off.
there a
Like,
single,
have you
do you think
seen?
there's a single we're the only two boomers? Do you think there's a single other person who's seen that movie?
There are a few people in the chat that are like, you know, in their 40s or older. So there might be, you know. Wow.
Uh
Some of the answers in the chat are killing me. Spaffron, I bought a bunch of Oxycontin and a series of bad purchasing. Glad that's over. We're glad you're here too, man. Be healthy, be well. Stu Pedasso, I made up a question so I can flex. That is 100% correct. Like, I need to recover my $300 out of that picture. Of course I'm flexing. Like,
yeah,
the only thing dumber than spending $300 on that picture
wait a minute,
is spending $300 on it and hiding it.
Hold on, you spent $300 on it? I must miss that part.
It was a silent auction. The opening bid was like $295.
Oh, you know what? It's for the children.
It's for the children. That's all. That my only defense is that I was at a nurses gala. Like, there were pictures of this poster next to pictures of like kids with like chemo, no hair. I have kids. You have kids. That goes right to my heart.
Yeah. Some guy talking about his kid dying. You're like, oh, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, you gave $300 to charity, and Emilio Estevez gave you an autograph. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
I remember one Christmas, like me and my wife were like newlyweds, and I was I don't know where I was, but this guy was doing a presentation on like this is a true story. When I bought my wife, he was doing a presentation on like car wax, but it wasn't just car wax. You could use it around the house, like clean the toilets, shine them all up, and you can use it in the bathtub. He like grabbed my like wedding ring and like shined it all up. And I'm like, dude, she'll love this. She has her ring. She can shine up. She opened up Christmas gift and it was car wax. And I spent like $100 on all these different types of car wax. I still have it. We've used like maybe a spoonful once on our like rings. That was almost as bad as the time I didn't know you don't do this. Like it was our first wedding. I bought her like 5 or 6 gifts, and I was like, "All right, I got this."
Your first wedding?
Our first Christmas after we got married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And well, actually, we did have 2 weddings, by the way. We officially got married in Canada, and then we had like another little reception in Rhode Island with my family.
Well, that's because like stuff that happens in Canada doesn't really count.
Yeah. So and then no one told me that you don't buy your wife this. I bought her like exercise stuff. Yeah, I didn't know. I
mean, I already knew the woman was a saint.
I got like weights and like Pilates ball and shit. Like,
I mean, you might as well have gotten her a vacuum cleaner and a blender at that point, dude.
Yeah,
like, just keep digging.
Yeah, done that. I got one of those vacuums that go around the house and self clean up.
Oh, like the Roomba type things? Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Like, yeah,
she hated it. It kept getting like stuck on things. And anyways, so let's move on. So that was a great question. That was really fun. So nice job, Ben. Before that, the big Canada versus America showdown. I know Ben is very sad after Charlie Radke stole his high school nickname of Chuck Buffalo. Mike Malott took out Charles Radke by second round TKO. Radke, he talked a lot and made this one of the most exciting fights heading into this contest. And then Malott showed why he at one time was the buzz of Canada MMA, and he still might be. He looked great tonight.
Yeah, he looked great. Radke, they showed him warming up in the green room. He had one of those like breathe right snoring strips on. Their jokes wrote themselves. I just said he's going to need one of those snoring strips after the fight too. And damn if I wasn't right.
Not to change topic, but that's a great question, Antoine Willis. What's the greatest HBO show of all time? Sopranos or Game of Thrones? The answer is neither. Everyone knows the answer to that one. It's called The Wire. But we will do like what's the second best Monday? That's a great question. So we'll get into that. We'll do some TV shows. So nice one, Antoine Willis. Radke was trying to press the action. And he was trying to press action, but didn't follow up with the amount of volume he wanted to fight because he was just eating shots as he was coming in.
If you press the action and you don't throw, then you're just running into the other guy's fists even harder. And right. Mike Malott is not a perfect fighter, but he is also one of the welterweights that I would least recommend you doing that against. Like, he's not a perfect fighter, but running right at him with your hands halfway up is not smart. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Do you believe in Malott? Are you still on the Malott bandwagon, or where do you stand on the Malott hype?
I think Malott is the 2025 incarnation of that, again, Vicente Luque, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Nico Price kind of knot that hovered around the 11 through 20 spots of the UFC for a couple of years there. I think he tops out as a guy that sneaks into the top 10 maybe after a couple of good wins in a row, but durability and defensive issues being what they are, you just have to string too many wins together at welterweight to really get into the title picture. I mean, again, we've just talked about Belal Muhammad. We've just talked about Leon Edwards. Hell, and before that, it's not like Kamaru Usman had an easy run to the title. He had to win a ton of fights to get there too. It's tough for me to picture Malott doing that, especially if we're talking about starting from now where he's like 33 years old or something.
Yeah.
But he's definitely shown he belongs and can beat some decent fighters. There's a place for that.
I want him to get my Molly McCann treatment where he's just fighting Canada because he's a likable guy. He's not a big trash talker, but he has this charisma without coming off cocky and like little things when he said like
Captain Canada.
Yeah, when he said I'll stand on guard for you, which is a line from the national anthem. I'm like, dude, this guy, his delivery was perfect. I'm like, damn, dude. And I'm supposed to hate you because they're like, you're supposed to do like Canada versus America. My wife would have probably been teasing me if she saw that at this point. People don't know I was from Canada originally. So what I want to do, I want to match him up. I wanted him to keep winning, but I wanted to get a name too. So I want him to beat a name, keep winning, but also be not a challenge for him. I want to put him in like a fight night co-main event, give him Gunnar Nelson.
Beautiful.
In Canada, put it in like Halifax or someplace. Saskatchewan.
Honestly, if they can give Gunnar Nelson enough money to be willing to fight outside of Europe, that's the exact kind of guy that you want to do. That's sensational.
All right, let's move on. Before that, like I said, I think I had a good night in my picks. I had one really bad pick. I would say like it's about reads, not necessarily like how the fight goes.
Yeah.
There was one I was like, okay, that was really bad. Jessica Andrade took on Yasmin Jasovicius. I picked Andrade as a big upset, and she got trounced. Jasmine Jasovicius just ran right through Jessica Andrade. And I will say this. I remember taking Andrade and saying, like, no, but listen, like, I've been on the, like, Yasmin train for a while. Like, and you've been on, we've both been on, like, Yasmin saying she's a problem in the division. She's improving her striking. She's big, and she's got an incredible ground game. Yet the window is very small. Like she said, she even said in the media day, I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a fun time. I like this girl a lot.
She is fantastic. And you just said this about Malott. She's not a huge talker, but she's got this kind of just wholesome charisma. Like it's tough for me to imagine somebody hating Jasmine Jasovicius. And if you have
who hates name one,
she's extremely Canadian. She's extremely Canadian.
Yeah, like name one asshole Canadian.
For us, a hobby. No, he's not. Like,
who's the biggest dick in Canada? I don't know.
I wish I knew the name of a Canadian porn star because I would just throw that out for fun. No. You find out like Brian Adams is a real asshole or something, or Celine Dion is a real cunt. Yeah. But I mean that's as bad as anyone has ever beaten Jessica Andrade. And I'm including the Weili Zhang and Yan Xiaonan fights. And obviously it's not the same Andrade, but like you look at the Zhang or Xiaonan fights, and even if you think they're just better fighters than Andrade at any time, it's not like if they fought 10 times, it looked like that every time. If Jasmine Jasudavicius and Jessica Andrade fought 10 times, I'm confident now that it would look like that every time. Just Andrade had nothing for what Jasudavicius wanted to do, even though she knew it was coming. We're talking about like 1970s Big Ten football. You know they're going to run between the tackles like 80% of their plays from scrimmage. It's whether you can stop it or not. She knew what Jasudavicius was going to do, like throw a couple of token strikes to get into range, like tap a knee and haul her down, and just had nothing. We've never seen Jessica Andrade just out horsepowered physically like that. It was unbelievable.
Some of that, and I want to give Jasudavicius a lot of credit because I do really think she's good, and I think she's going to be a lot of people ranked above her. But on the flip side, Andrade looks absolutely washed. The thing that stands out to me is, one, she has to go back down to 115 to have anything left. Now, it's going to be hard weight cutting for her at this point of her career, but she just simply isn't the physical specimen that she once was. To be smaller and not be the physical specimen, you're in trouble. So we've been matchmaking Jasudavicius a little bit already. I'm giving her the loser of Barber versus Blanchfield. Did you have a specific person? I know you have a pretty close.
I had I had the winner of Namajunas and Maverick.
Okay. And
there she either beats another rising contender like herself or beats another kind of legendary name. And I think if she beats the winner of that fight, a title shot is almost undeniable.
Yeah. And Andrade at this point, to me, either you're getting over somebody else, you're just getting her in like fun matchups. I'm going to give Angela Hill the rematch from 8 years ago. Let her run him back.
Okay.
Before that, Iwan Kutalaba took on Modestas Bukauskas, winning a split decision. Ben, how did you score it?
I scored it for Kutalaba. I gave him at least 2 rounds. Like, again, I was like writing the matches to make article, but I gave Kutalaba rounds 1 and 2. It's another one where I don't know if I'll peel this one off the top of the dome if you ask me about robberies a year from now, but it's just maddening because I thought it was a pretty straightforward fight to score, and there were dueling 30-27s each way, and they were both terrible.
Well, I didn't hate the Kutalaba 30-27 because to me that's what the debate was. Did Kutalaba win the first, second, or did he win the first, second, third? I gave the third to Bukauskas, but I mean, it is what it is. Kutalaba was very calm and was trying to do this like distant kickboxing and just kept saying like, "Oh, K1 Kutalaba," but you know what? On the flip side, he could have increased the output, landed a couple more takedowns, and secured closer rounds. So, MMA decision had 9-2 for Kutalaba, but Bukauskas gets the win. Before that, Navajo Sterling took on Ivan Arslan. Sterling winning decision. I will say this, and I think I'm going to be in the minority. I think a lot of people are going to say this was not a good performance by Sterling, even though he won. He came back late. It didn't start off well, but what I liked is that he made adjustments in the fight. He started obviously keeping his distance. When he was getting in the striking range, he was going into step-in knees. He was going to the clinch. He stayed composed when it wasn't going bad. He said you could hear him, like what his coaches were calling out to him. You could see him listening. He will lose badly, and it'll happen soon. But I feel like he showed that he's someone who will improve based on just what I saw his maturity in the cage tonight.
And you're talking about Kutalaba there?
No, I already moved on to Sterling.
Okay.
Kutalaba.
I came out of that fight down on both fighters. Like,
okay.
And here's the thing: it's not that Sterling doesn't have potential, but this fight it felt like a mediocre fight on the Contender Series. It felt like a fight on a regional scene. Like guys with obvious component skills and physical tools and believe me, I feel bad saying this, but look like they don't know how to fight. Like, and Sterling has, like, both these guys have kickboxing experience. So what I'm really saying is they don't know how to show up in an MMA cage and just like actually control the flow of the fight and fight to their best advantage. Like every other 200, it felt like a Bellator undercard fight with
PFL,
like a couple of
PFL
like 4-2 guys that are mostly there to sell tickets to locals. Like it just, and there's no reason that Sterling in particular, who has I think more upside as the younger, less experienced, bigger guy,
undefeated.
there's no reason they can't turn into decent light heavyweights, but neither, like every other light heavyweight in the UFC was like licking their chops watching this. Like Iwan Kudalaba was watching this fight going, "Oh, guys, what are you doing?"
Iwan Kudalaba with like his long hair now and like his controlled pace. He looked like a guy who just got out of prison that like grandma puts him in like a suit and like sends him out to a job interview. Just didn't feel right. Before that, Bruno Silva took on Marc-Andre Barriault, the hometown hero. The hometown hero, Marc-Andre Barriault, got a first-round TKO, landing some mean elbows inside, crushing elbows to the temple. Good to see a guy like Marc-Andre Barriault having this like one huge moment in Montreal. He's not going to get many of these left, but nice to have that moment for him.
I agree. He's just seems like a likable guy, win or lose. He's just kind of super scrappy. It's just when I think of scrappy guy who stuck around for a long time and had a few moments where he just really kind of fought above himself, he's kind of like a modern day Patrick Cote type.
Yeah. Bruno Silva is a guy that there's certain people when we break down fights, I know like what one of the intros of Ben is going to be. And Bruno Silva was one of them. I don't think it'd have to do that much longer as he looks completely washed and taking it out on a stretcher. They had to give updates throughout the night how he was doing.
Yeah, and saying they brought him out on the stretcher because they were worried about his neck, not his head. That doesn't make it better, guys. That actually sounds worse.
Yeah, because he got dropped on his head, his neck all cranked up, and he's getting.
Don't worry, it's not the concussion. We think he might have a broken neck. Oh, thanks, guys.
he's gonna show up to the gym on Monday like Bobby Heenan. Before that, Daniel Santos took on Zhang Yang Li. Santos winning by unanimous decision. It wasn't technically an underdog pick. I think it was a pick 'em when we picked it, but it closed as an underdog pick. So lock it up. Another consensus underdog pick. Daniel Santos came through with the win. I've liked this kid a lot, and I like even more now. Like what he showed tonight, moving up a weight after being out of the cage for a long time, short notice, going against not only moving up in weight, but going against a guy who's big for the weight class.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was in the pocket, landing shots, working the body well, hitting takedowns. His pace was incredible. His head movement. I mean, I like Daniel Santos. I'm not saying he's going to be champion, great, especially not at 135 or 145, but he's going to be a tough out for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still, despite like 2 years on the shelf, still kind of young. So, yeah.
And you know, it's funny when he first came out, I was like, "Oh my god!" And he got hurt early. I was like, "He looks fat." And then, man, he had like I don't know if it was like all the pasta was eating. He could like like burn the carbs into energy. Like he was going. And before that, Brad Katona took on Bezak Almakhan starting not almost a perfect night for Canadians, but it wasn't because Brad Katona got knocked out quick in the first round. Katona has never been stopped before, so that makes the knockout even more impressive. I thought Dominic Cruz said it correctly where you're saying that he just Almakhan just picked up his like timing immediately, caught him. He's only 27. He looks like someone to watch out for. And again, I know I'm overreacting for a knockout, but that weight class, knocking out that guy, that looked good.
Yeah, and so I mean, he's done both of the things that tend to get you overhyped as a UFC newcomer. Like he was very competitive against a great fighter in his debut, and then he knocked out a guy that's not known for getting knocked out. So he's filling his bingo card to get pushed too far too soon. He's lucky that it's 135, so there's no rush. But yeah, 27 years old, obvious physical tools, he's a guy to watch.
Yeah. Chris Wiz says Bracketone is one of the most lackluster.
Wrong, Chris. He is 2 of the most lackluster tough winners.
Yeah. He said he's one of the most lackluster tough winners. You might want to look up tough winners. Everyone always remember the glory days of Diego Sanchez and Rashad Evans and those guys. There's a long run of nobodies that have won tough. So let's get to the fun stuff. Let's do the cut list.
Okay.
As we've already covered all the fights of cut list. If both me and Ben give approval for the UFC to get rid of somebody, if they're on both of our lists, we said the UFC can get rid of them. Ben, I have 2 people for my list. How many do you have?
I definitely have 1, and
I know the one you have. The one you have is Bruno Silva.
It's the most screamingly obvious one. I would have cut him after his last loss.
5 losses in a row. Honestly, forget getting cut. He needs to retire.
He does. He does need to retire. Honestly, I'm extending a provisional reprieve to Charlie Radke.
Oh no, Radke won his fight before this, and Who else you got? He wasn't even close. I was cutting Ivan Ursulin. He's 0-2 in the UFC. Looks like a very low-level guy, but Ben is saving him as he's a big Ivan Ursulin fan. So.
Hey, every Croatian kickboxer is possibly the next Crow Cop for me. So yeah,
you got to sign an autographed picture of him, put it right next to the Young Guns.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Dude Seriously. I was kind of doing a lot of stuff, so I don't have as many good Dude Seriously as normal. Ben, what do you got?
I've already mentioned it in passing, but okay, I am officially going to retire Bruce Buffer from being featured in my Dude Seriously until the next time he actually reads a decision wrong. Because every time I think he's reached the bottom of the barrel at mispronouncing names, he digs another story. Calling like Natalia Silva, that is as straightforward as a Brazilian fighter name gets. Everyone can say Natalia Silva. He called her Natalie before and after the fight, so it wasn't just a slip.
It's not even spelled that way.
It's not even spelled that way.
I can understand if it's spelled that way, and then it's like a translation thing where, people like it bothers me a little bit because of who it is. When people call him Jose Aldo, and I'm like, it's Jose Aldo, but like majority of people call him Jose, and like, okay, it's at least spelled that way. All right. But it's not even spelled the same way. Like, come on, Bruce. You have the easiest fucking job in the world. It's so easy. He had to read 24 names tonight. Big deal.
Yeah, it's just unfathomable how bad.
Like, imagine if your full-time job. I think about like a kid like in high school play who has a bunch of things. They go to class or everything. But say you're in a high school play. You had 24 lines. You had a week to memorize them. But also, you got a card right in front of you with the lines. Would you screw it up? Probably.
No.
And he does it every single time. So, yeah, I had that one on my list, too. Any other ones?
I had another, and it is completely – oh, yes. Okay. So, Belal Muhammad's nickname is Remember the Name. And I always thought it was kind of like, I don't like nicknames that are like a whole phrase. They just feel clunky to announce. But if anyone deserved that as a nickname, we're talking about a guy that when he beat Leon Edwards to win the title, Buffer read the wrong name as the winner. So massive disrespect right off the bat, like literally remember the name. And then at weigh-ins on Friday, the Quebec commission head didn't recognize him, even though he's the headliner and the defending champ. Like, fighters are walking up to the scale and, Jack Della Maddalena is on the scale, 170.2. He did not recognize Belal Muhammad. Dude, seriously?
I didn't catch that.
That was terrible.
I had a crazy week, guys. So we had 2 murders this week. So I've been barely sleeping. So, yeah. I didn't get to cover as much MMA stuff as I like to, but I'll give you a couple of dudes seriously for you. Charles Radke was warming up in the back, and he had like a corner man like do the stupid this thing into like when you do that, where you like pretend you're cranking up the middle finger to the ESPN. Like, dude, seriously, like you get to be on ESPN and you're doing like a joke that I did when I was like,
doing a joke
10.
from like some like Chris Farley and David Spade movie from like 1996. Like, seriously? Yeah.
Yeah, like, dude, seriously. And DC kept going on and on about Valentina Shevchenko's good. She might have passed Amanda Nunes for the greatest fighter of all time. It's like, dude, seriously, Amanda beat her twice. Like, that's a hard hill to get over. And I know you could say, oh well, Volk beat, Aldo, and I mean, I understand it's not always that one, but that's still a pretty tough one to get by. So, dude, seriously, let's get to the awards, Ben. Do we have the awards?
We do have the awards. We have a fight of the night and 2 performances of the night.
Do you agree with them?
They are all deserving. I'm looking now and trying to decide where there are any that are more deserving, because this was a violent card.
Okay, while you do that.
No, I like these, actually. I'm good with all of them. Yeah.
Well, I'll get you a chance to look over the fights and see if you want to change them. I'll give you what I would have given.
Okay.
While you look at it. I'm going to go to the main event. I don't like to do it a lot. I'm going to do the main event for fight of the night. And I'm almost sure that one fight of the night. Performances, there's a couple ones that stand. Marc-Andre Barrios stand out to me. Malott stands out to me. But I'm going to go with, just because of the weight class, who he did to. I doubt he's getting the performance bonus, but I'm going to go with a Malkin right out the gate, landing that punch against Brad Katona. And again, based on who she did it against, Yasmin Jasovicius running right through Jessica Andrade. Those are 2 people I'd give it one, but I'm okay with Andre Barrios getting one or Malott getting something. What do you have, Ben?
Well, and actually, I'm going to tell you the official awards, and I agree with them. This is what I would have done.
Okay.
Your fight of the night, 50,000 Canadian dollars. Well, I imagine they're giving American dollars to Jack Della Maddalena and Belal Muhammad, which if you're going to give a fight of the night, that was clearly the best fight of the night. I would have been fine with them just giving 4 performance bonuses as well. But
what did you say was the
main event? Yeah, main event was the fight of the night. And then performances of the night went to Jasmine Jasovicius for her first round rear naked choke of Jessica Andrade, and Marc-Andre Barrios for his complete destruction of Bruno Silva.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the way he got knocked out and then the crowd always kind of gets over, then it just Malkin getting the knockout to me was less likely. That's why I went with him. But
but it was going to get less pop from the Canadian crowd for sure.
Yeah, especially he did it to a Canadian, and so. All right, let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are stock market runs. You want to be on the Bulls list. You do not want to be in the Bears list. We do it. We do it 3-2-1 hockey style. Let's say negative. So let's go with the Bears first. Ben, do you mind if I go first?
Go for it.
You know, I ask you every single week, and one day I'll just be like, no, I'm going first. I'm going to go Brad Katona. This guy who, his second run on the Ultimate Fighter show, he wins it again, comes back in the UFC. He's 1-3 since winning tough again. He's pretty close to getting cut again. His got knocked out for the first time. Brad Katona's stock dropped to me. My number 2, he retired, so take that for what it's worth. But he's lost back-to-back fights. But worse, he missed weight, and that's not something Jose Aldo does. Like, being unprofessional. I understand he might not have been mentally there. All that, I understand that. But you're Jose Aldo. I don't care if you're not mentally there. You're the man. You never miss weight. When you were going down to 135 and everyone's like, oh, there's no way he's going to make it, and he made it late in his career, having this like your last memory, to me, that's really bad. And number 1, I hate to do this. Americans. There was 2 Americans on the card. They both lost. Charles Radke and Belal Muhammad went 0-2. So we got to ride. I mean, I don't know. Do we have rivalry with Canada? I guess. But
I mean, we seem to be picking a fight with them. Like, it's hard to make Canada mad, but we're trying. Right?
Yeah. But hey, they got the best of us. Belal Muhammad and Charles Radke went 0 for 2. Ben, what do you have for Bears?
Bears, I completely agree with yours. I will throw in Alexa Grasso. She had a lot to prove tonight. I made the case, and I was overstating it for effect, but ahead of the of this card in one of my articles, I made the case that Alexa Grasso needs to show us whether she is a fighter that took advantage of one bad miscue by Valentina Shevchenko and parlayed that into like a 3-fight series and kind of rewrote the whole story of her career off of one mistake by a great fighter. And I didn't really believe that, but to me, Grasso, her performance tonight was going to put that 3 title fight series into perspective. And the perspective I have after this fight is Grasso appears already to have peaked. I'm not going to say she was smoke and mirrors because she legit beat one of the greatest fighters of all time and then gave her decent fights twice more. But yeah, like her stock took a huge hit tonight. Her path back to the title picture is much, much more complicated than, honestly, more complicated than it would have been if she just got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Right.
Seeing Alexa Grasso fail to pull the trigger for most of 15 minutes was ugly, ugly, ugly. The only other one I'll add is Jessica Andrade. You already mentioned Jose Aldo. Andrade, even though she's actually chronologically younger than Jasmine Jasudavicius, was the other legend on the obvious backside of her career who nonetheless had still been competitive with, top 10 contenders. She was not competitive tonight. Just got absolutely trucked in a way that's going to make it tough to book her going forward. She looked Aldo retired. I would not have been shocked if Andrade had retired in the cage after that. She just looked so overmatched and so uninterested and just it was bad. So those are the only two.
She lost 5 of the last 7 fights. So all right, let's go to the Bulls list. Oh, actually, real quick, I want to address one comment. Chris was pretty funny. He's like, explain to me about those murders. For those who don't know, I'm a detective, so when I say I had 2 murders, I didn't murder anybody. I investigated murders. So
I had 2 murders.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice. That's nice job. Sorry about that if I confused anybody. Like, damn, what show do I watch?
Next time the UFC is mad at Sherdog, they're just going to clip out that 5 seconds that you say I had 2 murders this week and run it slow and black and white like they do when they're trying to make a media person look bad.
Yeah, I can see someone who watches MMA Fighting's show and then they came over to our show for the first time and they're like, dude, this show is wild compared to those guys. MMA Fighting got nothing on this guy. He's murdering people, admitting to it. This is crazy.
Alex Kaylee ain't murdering anybody.
Let's go to the Bulls. This is the list you want to be on, Ben. I'll let you kick it off.
Okay. Bulls. It's real obvious to grab a main event participant. We usually kind of steer clear of it, but considering that he was like a 2-1 underdog and not just that he won, but how he won and the way we're talking about the whole division going forward, it was a huge night for Jack Della Maddalena. Nobody can ever take this away from him. He looked incredible. And even if it turns out that, Muhammad just got washed overnight, the bone infection was it, I'm still excited for Della Maddalena's next fight in a way that I wasn't before tonight. So that's a huge one. Amin Zahabi. The only question about him a year ago, even as he had started to string a couple fights together, was, is he more of a has-been or a never was? All of a sudden, he's won 5, 6 fights in a row. He's calling for fringe contenders, and it's almost surprising that he's not calling for somebody further up the ladder. If it had been a more obvious and clear, I beat Jose Aldo real bad type thing at bantamweight, he could be calling for a top 7 or 8 fighter, and nobody could say anything about it. But he made the smart thing to call for a guy who's another action fighter, fringe contender, who has fought back and forth at 135 and 145. Great night for Amin Zahabi. And last one I'll throw in, Jasmine Jasudavicius. For the kind of the flip side of the reason that Andrade, was a bear. Jasudavicius, she was a big favorite, but it is an underratedly difficult job to go out and win the fights that you're supposed to win. And when you're like a -300 favorite, just winning a ho-hum decision isn't really enough to hold serve. She went out and dominated. She may have cut the line a little bit at 125. Just absolutely great night for someone who is creeping up the list of all-time JJs in women's MMA. Like the number one JJ of all time, Ioana Jędrzejczyk, was in the crowd tonight, but like Jasmine Jasudavicius kind of gradually making her way up there. JJ Aldrich falling way back.
Yeah, I obviously agree with all yours. I'll throw a couple other ones on there. I don't think he should have won tonight, but he's on a 3-fight winning streak now with Modestas Bukauskas. I mean, this is the guy that, was supposed to be a low level, brought back to the UFC. He wasn't supposed to do anything. He's won three in a row. I don't think he's a contender, but hey, he keeps winning. So my number 2, I'm going to go with Australians. It's back-to-back UFC pay-per-views where Australians captured the title. Jack Della Maddalena, last one was Alex Volkanovski. So Australia, there was a dip. They were on fire, then they had a dip and thought it was it was fun while it lasted. Australia dominating the world of MMA again. But my number 1, I talked about Natalia Silva and how she started off her record at MMA. I'm going with these late bloomers. How about Jack Della Maddalena? He started off 0-2. He lost both his first fights. He hasn't lost since. So I'll go Natalia Silva, Jack Della Maddalena, showing that even though you may struggle when you first try something, don't give up. Obviously, these two people are good examples. You can tell this to your kids or something if they have a bad day in sports or something else. So way to go. So there you guys have it. We've done all the fun stuff. Let's get to the grade. What's the grade of the card, man?
Give this one an A-. Like I really enjoyed this one. You know me, bad reffing and bad judging always leave a sour taste in my mouth. Otherwise, this might be an A. It won't end up being my favorite card of 2025 at the end of the year, but just a nice lean and mean 12 fight card, tons of violence, especially early in the night. And then if I'm happy after a card where my lockdown guarantee was made to look utterly foolish, it was a pretty good night of fights. Like, I'm the guy that said I'm never picking against Belal Muhammad in a 5-round fight until I learn otherwise. I learned otherwise tonight, and I'm still pretty damn happy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B. The only thing to keep it, I agree. I thought it was really fun from the first fight all the way to the main event. There was no really boring fight or anything. The only reason I'm going B is the one fight that was a little boring was the co-main event. I thought it could have been a little more action back, so that keeps it from A. But I was very pleased. Like if you spent the money on the pay-per-view tonight, I think you'd be happy. So I'll give it a B. Ben, who is your listener of the night?
You know what? Lots of you are no longer allowed to win. You know who you are. Rookie of the night goes to Spaffron. I really enjoyed a lot of the input. Mr. Cunningham, welcome back. I'm glad I didn't pronounce anything outlandishly bad tonight. I'm going to give it to MMA Racks. Made me laugh a few times, a couple of interesting insights, agreed or disagreed with us. Disagreed with us in well-reasoned ways a few times. So MMA Racks, my listener of the night.
Yeah, I think Chris Wiz came on really, really strong late. Yes, when
I think of him as somebody that's borderline. Not
I said, when are we going to have a Keith Dillon Cop Stories podcast? When I retire, which could be less than 5 years. But I'm not giving it to Chris Wiz. I'm giving it to, it is technically Sunday, which is now Mother's Day. I don't know if anybody in the chat is a mother, but I would, if you are, happy Mother's Day to you. You are our listener of the night. Obviously, I want to say happy Mother's Day to my mom and to obviously the mother of my children, my beautiful wife. I want to say happy Mother's Day to Ben's beautiful wife. And, both their support allows us to do this. Ben, say something nice about a mother.
My mother is incredible. I wasn't born in the U.S., but I got here as quickly as possible, largely thanks to her. So thanks, Mom Duffy, for bringing me here. Thanks to my beautiful wife, who puts up with me doing this for a living and occasionally buying movie posters at ridiculously inflated prices. She is a long-suffering saint of a woman. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
There you have it. So we've covered all 12 fights. We do it deeper than we believe anybody else in the world does. So we thank you for listening. If you listen the next day, leave a comment in the chat, in the comments. We'll try to respond to it as much as possible. We'll be back doing a preview show. The next card, UFC Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales. Make sure you check that out. Our preview will be up early Monday morning. Until then, thanks so much for listening.